Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to the Dadhood podcast. This is episode 6, and we brought back my good friend Ma'ruf. And in this episode, we spoke about a number of things. We started off with a quick fire round, and we asked him loads of different questions like, does he prefer Nintendo or PlayStation or chicken doner and lamb doner? But then the main part of the discussion that we went into was giving him a scenario of him in 10 years' time. He's got children, he's working abroad, and he's got this vision in his head. How is he going to get there? What does that vision look like? First of all, where is he living? What is his children doing? What hobbies do they do? What have they achieved in their life? What is he doing? But then also, how are we going to get there? From where we are now, we're 25, and we want to get to that stage where we do have children and we are living that life, and our children are reading Quran, etc. What do we do? And so we kind of broke that all down. And the main key take-home message was that we have to start now focusing on ourselves first. If we want our children to be memorizers of the Quran, we need to be working on that ourselves first. But there was so many different aspects to this that we went into in terms of what's priority, what's the next priority, how to build up ourselves, how to build up our children, what challenges we're going to go through. So it was just a bit of a chat about between me and Ma'ruf. And I think you guys will benefit a lot. So please make sure you hit subscribe, give the video a like, leave your thoughts down in the comments, share this around to friends and family. Thank you. Welcome back to the podcast. This is episode 6, and I'm joined by Master Chief. He's, taken a bit of a retirement from Halo since he had children. So, brought him on to speak to him about his dadhood journey. Please, Master Chief, can you remove your helmet, reveal who you are? The people would like to know who is Master Chief. How come he's taking a retirement from Halo? Oh,
Marufius.
It's Ahmed.
Maruf is back. Oh.
Mashallah.
Alhamdulillah.
Alright, Maruf, this time around, I got a quick fire round for you. You don't know what's coming up, but you're going to have to choose. I'm going to give you a question. I'm going to give you multiple questions, actually. I'm going to give you 2 choices, and you have to pick the one that stands out the most, the one that comes to your head. Quick fire, yeah?
Okay, bismillah.
Alright, let's go. Yeah, you ready, yeah?
I'm ready.
Alright, sick. Halo or COD?
COD.
Oh, I thought you were Master Chief #1 fan. What's going on?
Nah, bro. I just got it for the cap. I'm fraudster, innit? So Master Chief's just there for the fraud. I'm a COD player.
Alright, Nintendo or PlayStation?
Nintendo.
Oof. Street Fighter or Tekken?
Street Fighter.
Oi. Okay. Mario or Zelda?
Zelda.
Thin pan pizza or deep pan pizza?
Deep pan.
Ooh. Chicken doner or lamb doner?
Chicken doner. Lamb's a bit heavy, Kids meal.
It's kids meal, Shout out Istanbul back in the days.
Istanbul, man.
Alright, sweet snacks or savory snacks?
Savory.
Good. We're on the same page there. Football or basketball?
Basketball.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, man.
That's because you're whack at football, that's why.
Keeper since day.
UFC or boxing?
Boxing.
I knew you'd say that. Netflix or Amazon Prime?
Ooh, I don't really use Amazon Prime, so Netflix.
Is it? Okay. Lidl or Aldi?
Lidl, come on. Gotta be Lidl.
Tesco or Asda?
Tesco.
Interesting.
Because I got the
Right.
Tesco Express near me, that's why. Otherwise, it would be Asda.
Yeah. Okay. Sons or daughters?
Daughters, because of the hadith, inshallah.
What's the hadith? Remind us.
If I'm not mistaken, that having multiple daughters will be a reason for you to enter Jannah. So maybe we can look up the actual wording of that hadith.
Inshallah.
But yeah, definitely.
Nice. Okay.
Daughters, man.
Public school or homeschool?
Well, going through public schooling system and knowing the difficulties that you face going through that, I'd have to be homeschooling now. But it's that's an interesting one. Maybe we can touch on that.
Okay.
Interesting one.
Interesting. Breastfeed or bottle feed?
I don't really know how to answer that question.
You have to choose one.
I don't know. I mean, natural. Let's say all natural for now.
Pampers or Huggies?
I mean, these are all questions that
Of
you
course,
might have to ask me next year, possibly, or another time. But let's say Huggies.
Huggies. Okay.
Uh,
Teletubbies or Tweenies?
Teletubbies, definitely Teletubbies, man.
Teletubbies is the go, isn't it?
It has to be. It has to
I'm
be.
telling you. Okay, well done. You done well on that round. I mean,
Can I
there's no
pass?
wrong answer there, but we just wanted to get to know you a bit
Alhamdulillah,
better
alhamdulillah.
because, since the last episode, we said that you were a fraud. We thought we'd try to,
I am a fraud, man. What can
make
I
sure
say?
that your true identity
Astaghfirullah.
is on display on this Dadhood podcast, yeah? All
Mm.
right, cool. So look, bro, I'm gonna give you a scenario, okay? And
Nah,
that's where the podcast is really gonna start from. So let's fast
inshallah.
forward into the future, and you've got two kids. Your boy is age 10, and your girl is
Mm-hmm.
age 4.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want you to describe a few things. What is your life like right now in that scenario, okay? So
Yeah.
we're fast forwarding to a time where you've got a boy age 10 and a girl age 4. So describe to me, what's your age? What's where are you living? Okay, what's your hobbies?
Mm.
Where are you working at the moment? Are you even working?
Mm. Mm.
And what do your kids enjoy doing? What are the achievements that they've made so far? So when you think about this, whatever comes to your mind, that kind of vision for yourself and your family,
Mm.
I want you to go for it. So let's go first of all. How old are you?
Okay, let's just add 10 years to my current age. So let's say 35,
Okay,
inshallah.
35. And where are you working?
Well, I'd like to think I'm working where I'm currently at, but I'll probably be either at an agency in digital marketing or like running my own agency potentially.
Okay, interesting, nice.
Inshallah, inshallah.
What do you look like?
I mean, I don't know. Hopefully, I got a bigger beard than I have now. I mean, I've been focusing all my energy onto my beard lately, but
What are you
hopefully
going in
I have
like
a
hyperbolic time chamber like Goku? You're like, oh, trying to get the beard out.
Captain America. I'm just tensing my chin every night. But alhamdulillah, yeah. Hopefully, I got a bigger beard. I guess. Definitely trimmer. I need to focus a bit on my health. But
Okay,
yeah. I mean, I don't really know how to kind of answer that one.
okay, interesting.
Mm.
What are your hobbies?
Ooh, well, hopefully I'm still like, doing the sneaker buying and selling. Having, a bit more of a substantial kind of collection. But I've kind of gotten into painting at the moment. So that's something that
Really?
my work, yeah, so work, they are like really focused on well-being. So
Okay.
they sent like a paint like kit, so like acrylics and a canvas, and then we did like a session online where we painted this landscape. And yeah, when I was buying my diary, I saw that on the website, if you spend like 30 quid, you can, get free delivery. So I ended up buying like loads of painting stuff. So on the weekends, I kind of like use that set that they sent and kind of paint. So I'm not good at it. I mean, I did GCSE art, so I guess I'm okay, but I wouldn't say like
Man
it's
said I
anything
did
amazing.
GCSE art like 10 years ago.
I mean, like, I'd like to think that I like, always had a
Nah, you
creative
you
like
you're pretty
side.
good at drawing still. I remember we used to.
Yeah, like let's not forget your incredible Hulk drawing, that you
I'm
still
telling you,
speak about
bro.
today.
I'm telling you, I'm so proud of that moment, man. I'm so proud of it.
We need to
They
give a bit of a backstory,
I'm telling you,
Shoaib,
so
Shoaib was
we're in
gone.
art class. I didn't do it for GCSE though. I think this must have been year
It was
nine.
year nine. Yeah,
Yeah.
year nine.
So we're in year nine. We're in art class, and I'm doing push ups. I'm doing pull ups. I'm doing sit ups. I'm so pumped for this art class. Yeah. And Miss comes in. She's teaching us like how to. I think this lesson was about like putting
Mm,
shadows on your characters or something. Yeah. And she was like, "You
yeah.
guys can draw whatever you want. Okay, I just want to see you implement the shadow technique." I was like, "That's it, miss. You're gonna get the best piece of artwork ever." Yeah. And I got an image of Hulk. I pulled that up on my phone. Maybe, I don't know, man. I can't remember where I had it. And I was just drawing that out, sketching that out, making it look perfect. I hand it over to Miss. She says it's fantastic. Next thing I know, is displayed up in the central area of the school where people enter and exit. Everybody can see it. And it says, Shoaib Mohammed, year 9, Incredible Hulk. Proudest moment, bro.
I mean, yeah, it was good. I can't lie, it was pretty good. But I wonder where that is. I wonder if it's still there. I wonder
Man,
if it's still on the wall.
I need to go capture that, man. But yeah,
I need to go get that,
drawing
man.
was actually mad fun back in the day, man. Like I don't know, obviously there's certain, we don't want to go into the thick stuff of it and whatnot, but you know, it was fun. You know, drawing loads of different things, different anime characters, different landscapes, whatnot. Yeah, I do remember some of yours. It was good.
Yeah, now it's good fun, isn't it? Like now, obviously, I'm just focused on like landscapes and then maybe like doing a bit of Arabic calligraphy. I think I still have one. Maybe I can show you later on. Just something that I did on the weekend because even with work, like they like to just see what you got up to in the weekend. Because obviously everyone's at home and we're not really doing much. So when we have our weekly meetings, you know, my manager would like to kind of just see what you go up to, just to kind of break the ice a little bit. So
Yeah.
yeah, they kind of ask, oh, when's your next art project or whatever it is that you're doing, and I just do it for fun. And yeah, it's actually quite relaxing, like you said. Just take an hour out and however long it takes you, and just like focus on whatever that
Yeah.
is that you're doing. I think it's a great hobby actually.
Would you do
I
that
enjoy that.
with your kids? So at that age,
100%, 100%. I have very fond memories of my mum like taking us out into the garden with like poster paints
yeah,
and like just going crazy, just like with a big sheet of like whatever it could have been, like wallpaper even, and just like going a bit nuts on it,
that's
hand
sick.
painting and like drawing all sorts. And even like me and my sister, when we were doing our garage, we were like, oh, like we had a clean wall before we got painted, and we're like, what should we do with it? And we just ended up like just doing some crazy paint. I'm sure I have a picture of it somewhere. It wasn't any good, but it's like just being creative and like not having any boundaries with creativity. And I think
Yeah,
that's where it kind of stemmed. I don't know if you remember, I kind of wanted to do architecture at that age.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
loved drawing buildings. I loved looking at different structures, cars, etc. I consider that all art. And yeah, it was definitely something I was interested in. But obviously that adapted and changed later on. But yeah, definitely something that I enjoy.
Wicked. Where would you be living in this situation?
That's a good question. So I've kind of discussed this with you already. If I get a job with the current company that I'm at, then that might mean a location change
Yeah.
to Ireland, which is
Ireland.
something that at first I was opposed to because I was like, oh, like living away from family, new area, location. I've never really been Ireland before, and I've heard really amazing things about the Irish people and Ireland as a whole.
Yeah.
But whenever people kind of talk to me about Ireland, it's just cold and windy, and like I have like SAD syndrome, self-diagnosed. So when it's like dark and it's cold, and I kind of get a bit
Yeah.
under the weather,
Yeah.
literally. So I feel like would that be a good location change, but at the same time, career-wise would be a great opportunity. But there's also some opportunities abroad in like Saudi and Dubai in particular.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, if I'm able to kind of secure those
If you had to pick one in
positions,
that scenario, you're 35, you've got two kids, and you're
ooh,
working in
okay,
a
cool.
you've got a digital marketing
All right,
agency.
good
Where would
answer.
you be?
Good question, Rama. Yeah, I'd say Qatar because I saw an
Qatar.
opportunity recently, so it'd have to be Qatar. Yeah, that's where I'd like to be if I had kids, definitely.
Okay, interesting. All right.
Inshallah.
And your children, what kinds of things do they enjoy doing? What are their hobbies?
Um, so I think that they would definitely be doing some sort of martial arts.
Remember, your
They'd
son is
definitely
10
be
and
doing.
your daughter is 4.
Okay, cool. So let's start with the son. Martial arts for sure. Definitely like multiple physical activities. So either swimming or like archery or something of the likes. But definitely something physical is on a lockdown just for the discipline aspect of it as well. As well as as obviously the physical aspect.
Yeah.
What else? I think that the gaming, field technology side of things is going to really advance
Yeah.
rapidly. So like
True.
with VR and things like that. So definitely games, and I think I'd still be playing a few games here and there for sure. What else? It's a hard one. I guess painting as well, maybe. Who knows? Who knows? Who really knows? But probably a sneaker collection as well,
Is
inshallah.
it? Okay, nice.
Yeah, maybe. And for the daughter, at 4 years old, let me think of a 4 year old that I might know of. Because 4 year old is still quite a young age, you know, he's still forming those habits and those like likes and dislikes. So yeah, maybe cooking, painting. I think that's something that I remember listening to in on your first podcast with that brother that went to Eton College a
Yeah.
long back low, where he was saying that, you know, with his kids he kind of tells them, look, what are you cooking today? And like to get them to cook.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
found that quite interesting. So definitely something like just to get their decision making skills out there and their independent skills out there, and to build on those things. So yeah, definitely something like that. And I don't know if you've seen these Instagram or YouTube videos of this like little chubby kid that's like cooking. It's very cute. It's
Yeah,
like some 2 year old or three
yeah,
year
yeah,
old.
yeah. With his grandma, or is
There's
it just
one. I
him?
think there's one with the grandma, but then there's one with his like mom and dad, and like he's
Okay.
like he must be 2 years old. But then like they'll show him like
Yeah,
playing with the dough if they're making
yeah,
pizza,
yeah,
for example,
yeah,
or like putting the sauce on top, and then him
yeah,
eating the pizza at the end. And I thought that was like really interesting because obviously I love cooking, and I've
yeah.
been like when I was at home with my mom, I'd always be in the kitchen helping my mom
Maruf
cook
is
and
a
like learning
chef, man. You guys
techniques.
don't know. This guy is a chef. Although
I wouldn't say
he
I'm
once
there
killed me
there.
with one of his meals, but he's a chef nevertheless.
Which one? Oh, the recent one. The recent one, yeah.
No,
MashaAllah, wa barik.
back in university, what did you make me?
Oh snap! You meant literally killing. Don't ask me for egg fried rice.
Man was gonna give
I
me
don't know
all
what I
sorts
was
of
thinking. You
disease.
know, that was the best chapli kebab I've ever had. I was like, "What's this?" And it was just paired with the most beautiful, fluffy, fragrant egg fried rice.
Oh yeah,
Alright,
okay.
shape. I don't know why you man listen to me. Subhanallah, Subhanallah. I've definitely evolved since then. Alhamdulillah.
Mashallah.
But
Now I remember
yeah,
back in
like
like cook what was it called? Cookery. Is
cookery,
that what it was called? Yeah.
food tech,
Yeah,
yeah.
food tech, cookery, whatever it was. Yeah, I remember you would come out with a bang bang, bro. I'd bring my food home. Mama would just throw it in the bin. You'd bring your food, and everybody would dive in. You know. So yeah,
I remember. I don't
I
even remember.
always
I
told
mean,
you. I always told you
gone.
you should try and work on that and do something in food. Like I don't know, becoming a chef. I don't know, but doing something related to
You know
food.
what? You know what? Honestly, more recently, more so than any other time, I've been thinking about it. Maybe like a food car or something.
Yeah.
Possibly. I don't know, like a restaurant or like that. Because my family kind of come from a history of restaurants. And my uncle had one in
Okay.
Wembley, opposite Wembley Mosque for a few years. He had one on Wembley High Road. My other uncle had one in where did he have it now? I can't remember now. But he had it
Restaurant
close
game is
to
tough though.
Kingsbury. It's tough, bro. It's very tough. It's very, very tough. And then you know you're hiring people, dodgy people were involved, and
Yeah.
there was a lot of high initial costs, and then money wasn't really running. So it's a very difficult game to get into. But yeah, I think a food cart is kind of like a safe way to do it. Like you're not
Yeah.
investing too much, and then you have your cart. But anyway, who knows? Who knows? But yeah, I definitely enjoy it, man. I definitely enjoy it. Have fun.
Sick.
Two bowls for
All
them.
right,
Yeah.
sick. So
But yeah, man.
your kids, what achievements would they have made so far?
Great question. So I definitely at the age of 10, half of it, inshallah ta'ala, bidnillah. No doubt about
Inshallah.
that. You know, we find that the scholars of the past, you know, may Allah be pleased with them all. They were, you know, I think that's what's important is the mother, the role of the mother.
Mm.
I mean, subhanAllah, you know, I can't, you know, express the importance of the tarbiyah of the mother, especially at the formative ages, subhanAllah. You know, how many times do you know of you know, imams or people of knowledge today and even of the past that had that driving force from the mother implementing that rigorous schedule and being on top of the child, and not only just that, like not in the kitchen singing, you know, the latest song, but instead
Yeah.
reciting Quran and
Yeah.
showing that child subliminally, subconsciously, that Quran isn't just one of those things that you read in the morning and the evening. It's something that you do daily, and
Good
even when
point.
you're in your free time, you're not, you know, watching Netflix or, you know, listening to a random podcast. It's not beneficial. I like this one, inshallah. Yeah. But like reciting Quran or even listening to Quran. So definitely by the age of 10, I don't think that's far-fetched at all. I
Okay.
think that if you have that focus from a young age and you're teaching them how to identify Arabic letters at, say, 2, 3, 4, by 7, even by 8, 9, 10, 100%. Either at least the journey halfway done, or done to completion, inshallah. But obviously, this is talking from a very ignorant point of view. I don't have children. I don't know the stresses and the difficulties that come with it. But inshallah, by the age of 10, definitely. And for the 4-year-old, I would definitely think that they were able to recite Quran, not fluently, but, identify, ba, alif, just to identify the different letters maybe on a page, and, have like the basics on like, memorize Fatiha, for example, half of Juz Amma, maybe up to Surah Al-Fajr, for example, or even, before that. But yeah, definitely some sort of hifdhan. Arabic, hopefully my Arabic will be at a good, a fluent level at that point as well, inshallah. So, and if you're living obviously in Arab land, they should be able to speak Arabic fluently. And yeah, I think that's definitely something that I'd have locked down at an early age. And I think that's something that we can only appreciate the importance of now, at 25 years old, thinking about how, we would have wanted to have all of these achievements done by this age, what I mean? So it's definitely something you want to knock out straight away.
Definitely.
Inshallah.
It's something I think about quite frequently, is that, what would be the difference? Sometimes we think that, okay, we didn't achieve that at that age, so why would our kids achieve it at that age? And so you start to think about, what did your parents do for you? Why was it that your parents, not that your parents didn't, but what was the situation in your parents' life that meant that you weren't given those opportunities to achieve those kind of things? Yeah. And I always think about it in this way, that our parents, it's kind of, I don't know if you heard of this theory called Maslow's theory of priorities or something. I can't remember if that's the actual name. Yeah. So Maslow, some psychologist, and he said that human beings have like priorities that they need for survival, and there's lower list of priority, and then there's higher priority. So your lower items of priority, the ones that are more closer to your needs for survival, are things like food, shelter, warmth, clothing, being looked after, etc. And then you go up another level, and there's more. And then the higher level is kind of having a purpose in life, and being able to fulfill that purpose in life, and being able to do things in your life by yourself, self-autonomous, that you can go out and you can do those things. But you wouldn't be able to do that if you never had the finances, the food, the warmth, the shelter, the love, the community, to be able to get to that stage. So sometimes I think about it like that maybe our parents, they were focusing on giving us what we needed to basically survive and thrive as human beings. And once they've given us that, we can then continue the rest of the journey for ourselves and for our children, right? So it's like, sometimes we might think, oh, my parents didn't do that for me, but actually they were doing what they needed to do for you, right? They didn't need to, allow you to go and join an art school, okay? They needed you to take a serious degree so that you could have more money than they have, so that you could be more integrated in this society than they were, so that you can have more opportunities than they had, and then your children can take that next step of doing more, right? And it's the same idea when it comes to like establishing our Muslim society here in non-Muslim lands, where the older generation did all the basics for us. We don't really have to establish that many mosques now. Yeah, there's some mosques being built because of more Muslims, but even the process to make a mosque is so easy now. Everyone knows how to do it. Everyone knows how to raise the funds. Everyone knows that you need to speak to the council, get the permission, etc. Back in those days, it would have been so difficult, but they established those things. They established the halal meat shops. They established this, that, whatnot. And now we need to then take that, we need to appreciate that, and we need to take that to the next level and include more things in it, right? Maybe we get angry that, oh, why does this mosque not do a youth program? But that's not their priority at the moment. Their priority is to make sure that this mosque is functioning for 5 daily salah. And then you and your next generation can start implementing the future things. So I think it's important for us to then realize and appreciate the journey of our parents, especially immigrant parents who came from another country to give us more opportunities. And like, how do we then thank them for that is by making the most of our opportunities now and making sure that our children have more opportunities now, because now they don't really have to, if we, for example, if we were able to get out of the renting generation, let's say we're able to acquire property, yeah, then our next generations, now they have one less worry on their head in terms of paying rent, because now they can acquire the property that we were able to get. And so what their mind is free to think about is more than the worries of just how am I going to pay my next bill, how am I going to pay my rent, I need to get another job so it pays me more. Their mind doesn't even need to think on that level. They're more financially secure. They can go out and they can think of the most amazing things. They can think about how to boost this society to a next level, how they can boost the community to a next level, how they can boost themselves and have their own self-development. They don't have to worry about working 40 hours a week maybe. They're already in a comfortable position in society. They're respected in society. They have financial power. They have the Islam core foundations given to them. They can start thinking about things beyond that, basically. So that's how I think about
Yeah,
it.
subhanallah. Nah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, no, it's true. It's definitely true. I mean, I'm reading a book right now called Atomic Habits,
Oh yeah,
and
I
it's
need
an
to read that. It's
amazing
on my
book.
list.
Yeah, alhamdulillah, you can take it off me when I'm done. It's a sick book, bro. It's a really sick book. I've just started it, and alhamdulillah, work actually sent it, which was great because one of my colleagues was like, "You should get this book," and then they sent it over, which was amazing. But it kind of talks about that, and it talks about this 1% rule, which is basically what would happen to whatever it is that you're doing if you improved about 1% every single day. The example they gave was quite amazing about how the British cycling team, weren't very dominating in that field. So they
Yeah,
basically didn't win no gold medals, didn't win Tour de France, etc. And then this one guy came and he literally dissected every single aspect of their life and improved it by 1%. So whether the clothes they were wearing, if it helped with like retaining the muscle heat, wherever he mentioned that the clothes would help. They
yeah,
improved the clothes. They improved the way they would transport the bikes. They would paint the walls of the truck white so they were able to see the dust, which could affect the way the bike would function on the day.
wow,
They would look at different muscle creams that would help with muscle recovery. Small things that you might not think about. And he really did his research and improved it by 1%. And then they won like 5 Tour de France's in a row.
subhanallah.
And they like dominated the 2008 Olympics, I think in Beijing.
Okay,
It was
yeah,
in,
yeah,
because it was
yeah,
in
yeah,
UK in 2012. They dominated that. They won so many medals. And it was quite an amazing case study to kind of reflect on what you're saying, that, improving one thing by 1% will allow you to just achieve more. And then
yeah,
like, in this perspective, you're working hard for that house. It will allow that next generation, instead of 1%, achieve more because their worries are not those worries that you said were like instinctive, like, to have the roof over your head and the food and
yeah,
things like this.
yeah,
Those things are already covered. You're looking at the next step now. And it's like you said, you hear all the stories of how our immigrant parents came here with like £50 in their pocket. SubhanAllah, I don't know how you have that kind of resolve. I don't know how you have that kind of motivation. SubhanAllah, because it's like, are we in a position here in the UK where we have that type of money in our account at any given time? Not really. Not
It's true,
really.
it's
So
true.
they came here with nothing, and then £50, and that's why it's interesting that you bring that up, because obviously when I get a cab or when I catch the train instead of the bus and I'm paying like £1 extra, my parents be like, "Why did you catch the bus? Why did you get a cab?
Yeah,
Why
yeah,
don't you just catch a bus instead? Why are you
exactly.
wasting your money?" And I'm like, subhanallah, like for that generation, the value of money and the way that they kind of dealt with things are a completely different mindset to the way we behave now, this consumers
It's
mindset,
true.
where we don't even think twice. We just buy trainers and whatever it is, £200 gone. And then, I come to my mom's house with those on, and they're just like, they're looking at me in disgust. Alhamdulillah. No, it's definitely something to consider. So yeah,
Definitely.
man.
So look,
Alhamdulillah.
back to your scenario that you're in. So you're 35. Okay,
Yeah.
you're living in Qatar. You've got two kids, alhamdulillah. Your boy is age
Inshallah.
10. Your daughter's age 4. You are running maybe a digital marketing agency, or you're a big guy in a digital marketing firm. And your family life is surrounded by Quran, like you mentioned, and also you're doing some nice hobbies, painting, martial arts, whatnot. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so how do we get there? Like you're here now, you're 25, you're sitting in your nice gamer chair, you're
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
in London, and you're working at the moment. You don't have children. How do you get to
Mm.
35 years old with all that kind of stuff? So let's try and break
Okay.
that down, and any questions that come out, maybe I can help answer that from. I mean,
Uh-huh.
obviously I'm not there yet. I don't have kids that age, so I'm gonna learn as well
Mm.
in this journey with you. But so maybe we can help each other out. How do we get there?
Okay, tamam. So obviously have children first. That's the first thing. So obviously
Okay,
like
I'm ticked.
so
And I've got
obviously
a son and a daughter, so that's two ticks.
mashallah. There you go. So you're already halfway there, mashallah. So obviously, that's checked off the list. Um, in terms of career wise, because I'm doing an apprenticeship at the moment. So after the apprenticeship scheme, a lot of people have given me a lot of different advice, and maybe we can talk about careers at some point. But obviously, we know we're focusing around dadhood, but yeah, it depends on where I kind of go after this position. So, say I go to an agency where I learned and those practice schools I've kind of learned already and implement
Yeah.
those in the agency, inshallah. And then either or if I'm if it's in the qadr of Allah and I'm lucky blessed enough to kind of go to these different companies or these different countries rather
Yeah.
to kind of work for the same company, inshallah. That'd be a great opportunity as well, and I'd go straight away. So I mean that's
But you
probably
see,
the
there's
way I'd
there's
get to, like,
there's
say,
two.
Qatar or
I find that there's two mindsets here, yeah? And I was thinking about this when I was moving from my last job to my current job. I was thinking about what type of dad do I want to be? Do I want to be the risk taker? And when I say risk taker, that means that maybe I'll jump to an opportunity if the opportunity is there, and I'll do that because then my kids can experience something totally different in their life. Yeah. So for example, you're saying that maybe there's an opportunity for me to go abroad. Okay, and so you might just make that jump and take your kids with you, and you can be like, yeah, that's gonna benefit them, and that's gonna be great for them. However, you're not 100% sure how that might work out for you long term, or how that will benefit your career long term. You can see maybe the short term, I've got some opportunity here, it's giving me a bit of pay, but you're kind of jumping here and there because the opportunity is right in front of you. You're not doing it with a vision in mind. So that's one mindset. It's got its pros and its cons. The other mindset then is that you stay put. You're very conservative about the way that you do things. You're very calculated. Yeah, you know that, okay, if I stay with this company, potentially I could get promotions, or not potentially, I could definitely get promotions. I could get a higher pay salary. I can still stay in the society that I'm in. I don't have to change my life around that much. My kids are comfortable. And because I'm going to get promotion, a lot more money from this, then I'll be able to give my kids a lot more opportunities through that money. Okay. But maybe not through experiences like you could have by taking them abroad. So I was thinking about this, whether I should stay comfortable in the job that I have now, because the opportunities for me to progress are there, and I'm already very good at that job, and I'm very comfortable, and I can see things being okay for me, and therefore my lifestyle won't change too much, and my children can have a kind of not have a big change to their life, and things can be comfortable. But at the same time, I didn't want to be stuck in a comfort zone. I wanted to learn, I wanted to develop, but I wasn't sure how that's going to affect my children. Am I thinking more about myself, or am I thinking about how that's going to affect my children? Because maybe if I go out my comfort zone, I'm going to have to sacrifice a bit of salary in order to chase some sort of development dream that I have for myself. But at the same time, maybe that opens up new doors for my children. Maybe there's abroad opportunities that they can go to a whole other country. So I got stuck between this. I made the decision to move. I felt like the best decision for me at the moment, given that my kids were still quite young, that it's not going to really affect our lifestyle too much if I take a different job, which is a totally different industry, a totally different route, and I try and build myself up there. I felt like that was the right decision to make. But if you're in your situation and you got that, what would you do?
Yeah, that's a good so excuse me, that's a good point. It's a tough one. It's definitely a tough one because you have to obviously weigh up the pros and cons. But I think that traveling really broadens the mind, and I didn't really appreciate travel until I actually went abroad to Egypt and kind of saw the reality of a different country. I had a very narrow mindset, to be completely honest with you. I thought that the world was all good. There was no poverty. Everyone was happy. And even growing up, I thought that everyone had the same opportunities I had. Like everyone lived in a house like me.
Right.
People weren't living rough, and especially, there's statistics that suggest that, 1 million kids go to school hungry a day. Like, all of these types of statistics were I was oblivious to. I just thought everyone had sorry, excuse me, that everyone had the same like opportunities as myself. And then obviously with age and being exposed to different people with different backgrounds and lifestyles, you kind of see that actually reality of that is not the case. And then when that really sunk in deep when I went to Egypt, and I was like, subhanallah, I can't take anything for granted at this point.
Mm.
I have to really appreciate every single aspect and every single blessing that I have, subhanallah. Seeing like families literally live in the room that I'm in now. There were families living in this one space alone. The fridge was in a corner, the bed was in the corner, and like a little table was in the corner, and they all share this room.
Yeah.
Mother, father, and kids. So like, it was definitely something that I really appreciated and kind of like to be exposed to. So yeah, I mean, obviously that's not to say that would be the same in say Qatar, but traveling and kind of giving your children that exposure and
Okay.
allowing them to appreciate the realities of the blessings that they have is definitely something that I want to teach them from a young age, inshallah. But I definitely think that being exposed to not to say that you have to be, because we know many examples of people that have never left this country and speak better Arabic than
Mm.
native speakers, but I do think that at a young age, it would help a lot. It would help a
Mm.
lot to kind of go
Because
to
kids,
an
kids are
Islamic
kids
school,
are
say
sponges at that stage, isn't it?
exactly like you rightly said, at a young age, being in a country where, okay, we look, objectively, we know that we want our children to speak Arabic and memorize the Quran, sah? We know this.
True.
We don't need to, yeah, we know that this is a goal that we want them to achieve. Okay, so now look at how we can help them achieve that goal. We can help them do that here. There are many institutes, you know, uh, places of study where they can do that. But how can we get them to achieve it faster? Well, definitely taking them to an
Mm.
Arab country. I mean, there's a great example of this. I don't know if you've probably seen his YouTube videos before. A young brother. His name is Obaid Fox.
Obeyed. That's the fact. That's the name
Obaid
that came to
Fox.
my mind when you said that. Yeah.
Exactly. So Obaid Fox is a young kid, and if you look at his tarbiyah and his the way he's kind of been exposed to so many different Arab countries, made YouTube videos, etc. It's quite amazing because I think, if I'm not mistaken, he started his journey in Egypt where he learned Arabic first. So his
Okay.
parents took him to Egypt, taught him Arabic, then they went Saudi or wherever it was. I think maybe Qatar or Jeddah, where his dad's an English teacher. And just being exposed to that culture, it does help. He can speak fluent Arabic. Allah Barak lahu. He can
Yeah.
speak
Yeah.
Arabic, and
Yeah.
he's from Ireland, I think. Both of
Yeah.
his parents are
He
from
just looks
Ireland.
like a typical white boy, but he speaks proper
Exactly,
Arabic.
exactly. So that exposure does help. There's no denying it. But is it the only way? No, no doubt. So obviously,
Yeah.
it is subjective. It is down to your situation and down to your reality, and your do's and your wants that you've discussed with your spouse as well. Because obviously you're a team. If your wife is happy to say, look, I'm happy to raise the kids. I don't want
Yeah.
to be working. Or I want to work 3 days a week, and then I might have to look for a sitter, or I might have to look for my mother to look after the children, or
Yeah.
whatever it
Yeah.
may be. So you know what I mean. So obviously, it's a very subjective question. So it's kind of difficult to kind of answer.
Mm.
But at the same time, I would like to have the formative years, maybe from like 3, possibly till
Yeah.
about 11, 12, definitely in the Arab
Okay.
world, in the Arab
Nice.
country, inshallah.
Nice. Inshallah. But then to throw it back at you, do you think that if your children were there in the formative years without
Mm,
their grandparents, aunties, uncles, cousins,
mm, mm.
uh, how would that then affect their development? And then when they come back to a society in the UK, a Western society, UK, US, wherever,
Yeah,
let's say,
yeah.
you come back here, back to London, yeah. How are they going to be comfortable enough to participate as full citizens of the society? So two
Great
things there: your
question.
family and your society.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, regular trips are a must, back and
Okay.
forth. I mean, I don't think it is difficult, especially if you are someone from that society as well, to kind of assimilate. So, say for example, I went to Thailand where I'm not exposed to their culture or their way of life at all. And then, we're learning it together with the children. And
Yeah.
then you bring them back, after 7 years of them never going to England, and you're not kind of showing them the English culture and way and custom, it'll
Yeah.
be very difficult. But if you obviously talk to them in English, have them speak English, FaceTime and call parents back and forth regularly,
Yeah.
take regular trips. You went to America, for example, and
Yeah.
you have family there. You're exposed to that culture, right?
Yeah.
Um, opposed to myself that doesn't have any family or doesn't have any family in America. So I don't know what it's like there. I've never been. But you have that exposure to that culture because you've been there.
Yeah.
So definitely going back and forth is something that's definitely important to maintain that understanding. And I feel like I don't think it's difficult. It is difficult to chop and change, no doubt. No one likes to chop and change, and that's why actually, that suffer traveling is a form of punishment. It's actually difficulty. No one said that traveling is easy. It is difficult. You're not at your home, you're changing bed, you're tired, you're irritable, blah, blah, blah. So you don't want to put that onto your children on a regular basis, if that makes sense. I think that
Yeah.
there's a certain age where you can kind of say, okay, you're 11 years old now. Maybe at this age, you're able to do that. But then to do it at, chopping and changing when they're 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you want them to kind of build their identity a bit
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
maybe do that. So, I have no experience. I haven't spoken to anyone that has done this before. So, that's why I kind of chop in and change in from one discussion or one aspect of it
Yeah.
to another. But
That's
I do
good.
think that
Have these raw
have to.
discussions.
Yeah, exactly. But then again, like you said, you have to create that atmosphere for that child. Say, for example, I don't decide to go to Qatar or go to, I'll take that child to an Arabic institute. I'll have to make sure that where I live, there are, a community of students or Arabs, for that example, that, can teach that child and expose that child to the ways and the customs of
Yeah.
those individuals. Because obviously, like, as a proud Pakistani, yeah. I don't speak.
Oh man, do you
Obviously,
know what? I forgot one of my questions. It was India or Pakistan.
don't ask me that question. Actually, I don't want to start a riot. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. No, but like, my native tongue, according to my father, is Urdu. Yeah, but we speak
Okay.
Gujarati. Yeah, we speak Gujarati like more commonly. I don't know either. Like, I just know the basics. Like, I want to eat, or give me water, whatever it is. Yeah, I
Drop
don't
some
know
bars,
the
fam. Drop
important
some
words.
bars.
The important words. But yeah, like, why isn't the priority Arabic? Why is it that I had to leave the country to kind of instill that love for the language? You know what I mean? Like, there should be a
Yeah.
real emphasis on Arabic language.
Yeah.
It's the language of our religion. We must know it. There's no two ways about it. We have
And
to know it.
it's what builds our Islamic civilization, right? Like sometimes what we think is that we've passed a certain threshold with the Muslims, British Muslims living here. We think that we've set up our mosques and our halami, like we said before, and Islamic schools and whatnot, and now we need to go into other higher priorities, whether that be political power or whatnot, right? Not to say it's wrong to be involved in politics, but maybe our priorities are wrong because how much of our community has Arabic yet? That's supposed to be a very something which is one of the cores, the same way as establishing your masajid, same way as establishing your Islamic schools. This is a core part of our society as Muslims living in a non-Muslim land, especially because Muslims obviously in a Muslim land is generally they know how to speak Arabic, so that's not a
Yeah.
priority, whereas for us it's gonna have to be a priority. And before we look at people like Salah ad-Din who went and did amazing feats and conquers, we need to see what was his journey towards that. He already had Arabic, he already had Quran, he already had those things. And so he was able to, like we mentioned, if you have the foundations, you can focus on what comes after, right? So we have to
100%,
make sure that we have that foundation of Arabic before we can focus on the other things.
Yeah, and it just goes back to your list of priorities, isn't it?
Yeah.
What are the things that you must have on lock for your children's like overall tarbiyah, and definitely Arabic is one of them. Alhamdulillah, we're studying now, and we try our best to obviously learn it so that we can teach our children. But at the same time, like, we need to make sure that we are, the exemplary examples for our children. And that's something that, we discussed in last episode when we did it
Yeah.
a couple of weeks back now, like, being that role model for your child. And I think that's what's more important. Actions speak louder than words.
It's
How you
true.
treat your child, how you behave, manners are, observed. How many things that even now as a 25-year-old adult male, do I look back and think, why am I like this? Why is my mentality like this? Why is it that I react like this? It's interesting to kind of observe that, and then looking at, oh wait, how does my father react? How do my
Yeah.
family react?
Yeah.
What have I been exposed to? Why is it that this person, for example, I look at my brother-in-law, mashallah, Mubarak, and I see the way he deals with situations. It's completely different to the way I've dealt with situations. And I think, why
Yeah.
is it that he deals with it that way? And his exposed, what he was exposed to at that age, allowed him to kind of develop those skills and behave in that way. So yeah, I mean, it's just like, be your best self, and that's enough. What I mean? Are you doing the best that you can? And that's what that book actually goes through, Atomic Habits. So you should definitely read it. I'll definitely give it to you,
Definitely. It's
inshallah,
on
when
my
I'm done.
list, bro. I'll
It
definitely get that.
it definitely goes through all of those aspects, inshallah, so
So
that you
back
can be
back
an example for others.
yeah.
Go
Back to
ahead, next question.
your situation, yeah. So that kind of
Mm,
covers the whole living abroad situation, and also kind of covers the instilling habits into your children as well, yeah. So we've got a bit
mm,
of an idea of how we're gonna get there, but sometimes I think we need to also think about your career. So you said that your career is going to be maybe running your own digital marketing firm, or being the head of one that's already established, let's say, yeah.
mm,
And but you've also got children. Now, what's that dynamic gonna be like for you? If you can imagine yourself at 10 years and you're running your marketing firm, or you're the CEO of a marketing firm, but you've also got these young children and you're trying to give them
mm,
tarbiyah, but you're also trying to make money from this job. What do you think that
mm.
dynamic is gonna be between you, your work, your children?
MashaAllah. As soon as you mentioned that point, Akhi, one ayah came to mind, which is, I believe, in Surah Kaf, where it says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, والمال والبنون زينة الحياة الدنيا.
Yeah.
Yeah, that والمال والبنون, your money and your children are decorations or distractions in this life, right? Uh, so why don't make both of them, yeah, the opposite of a distraction? Use your money for your children.
Yeah.
Spend that money. How many people are rakhis? They're stingy, bro. They're so tight with their money, and they're letting it rack up in the account, and their children are suffering,
Yeah.
and their children are, not doing, uh, you know, being the reaching their potential. Use that money, use that blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and invest it. SubhanAllah, how many times as a teacher myself, uh, you know, get exposed to people that don't want to pay you, yeah, for your services, and you're not even charging a lot, but they'll pay £20 with no problem to the maths tutor. No problem.
Yeah.
They won't ask
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, even more sometimes. I know some maths tutors that charge £30 an hour, 1-to-1. No problem, please. I want him to get the A star. But when it comes to you teaching Quran, Arabic, all of these, really important skills, but fi sabilillah, how can you charge more than £10? Like, I got bills to pay, I got things to do as well. Like, like, life doesn't just, it should be that you should be honoring your teacher, and I'd actually make an emphasis and I make an effort to pay my teachers extra if I can, and
Yeah.
not to ask questions. If the teachers, oh, did you pay last week? Did you not pay on time? Pay regularly. I mean, subhanallah, I remember I paid my Arabic teacher, Sheikh Badawi, ages ago, and what happened was is that his computer got hacked, and he
Oh.
lost all the accounts or something like that. Like, he lost basically his spreadsheet where, this person's
Right.
paid this
Right.
much and
Right.
he's got five. I said, write it off. Let's start fresh.
Yeah.
Don't ask these, like, he's your teacher at the end of the day, and he's doing something that's going to help you. You don't want to
Yeah.
have any issues. Obviously, this is personal, and this is how I dealt with it. Not to say that you should,
Yeah.
obviously this is down to you, but use your money for your children. So, like, to answer your question, which is, how are you going to get your children to kind of, reach those goals whilst you're progressing in your career, right? Pay for it, man. Don't waste time. Get that one-to-one teacher that's going to come, someone you trust. And I personally believe that you shouldn't be your child's first teacher or primary teacher. That's my opinion.
Okay.
I think that it's really important for the child to really differentiate father and teacher in just
Interesting.
in Arabic and Quran. From my opinion, obviously help the child. You teach the
I
child when he
read, you know
asks
what, I
when the
read,
child needs help.
it's funny that you say that because literally this morning,
Mm.
one of the sheikhs that I know, he reminded me of Umar bin Abdul Aziz. Okay,
Okay,
the fifth rightly guided Khalifa.
Khalifa.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that book. I read of his biography when I first started practicing, and I was telling the sheikh this morning. I said to him, "Yeah, you know, I read that book. It had a big impact on my life." And in that book, he mentions that while he was running the Islamic State, he was taking care of his children by hiring other people who are experts in swimming, in Quran, in archery, etc. So that he could make sure they had that opportunity to do that while he was running things. But at the same time, um, he would check up on them in the evenings when he was with them. He would ask them
Mm.
how they were doing, like how did the archery go, how did the swimming go, show me what you learned, etc. Right? So
Mm.
he was still involved in it, but
Yes.
and he also mentioned this point. He said that I want to make a difference between who's teaching them skills and who's fathering them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Mashallah.
as they grow up, he's gonna blend them together. But at the beginning, you said
Yeah.
like the formative years, like what you said is that you separate these two. He's still involved in it. It's not like he separated
Yeah.
himself
Yeah.
totally. He's still there, he's still asking questions. He's busy at the moment. He's got this whole state to run, okay? And he wants to make sure his tarbiyah for his children is there. So
Subhanallah.
he's involved in
Subhanallah.
two ways. He's putting the money in by paying that expert to come in. But multiple ways, actually, you could think about this even more ways. He's already thought about, okay, I've got the responsibility of running a state, but I've also got children. So let me prepare for that moment. So he's done number one. He's already made the intention to prepare for that moment. Then he's gone out and done the research. Who's the expert in those areas? Then he's put money towards that. Then he's checking up on his children, how their progress is going. And then he's making a plan that as they grow older, how he's going to form
Get
those
more
two things
involved.
together and get more involved.
Yeah.
It was
Mashallah.
that book was so good, man. I'd recommend you read that.
Mashallah. Yeah, definitely. That's going to be on the list now. But exactly, like, you hit literally nail on the head there. You want to kind of, and look at it from a a different point of view from the third person. Yeah. When you have that relationship with that teacher, you can ask that teacher questions you can't ask your father.
True. Exactly.
You have
Yeah.
a different relationship with that individual. You're able
I think
to
he mentions
expose
something like
yourself
that in
in a
the book
different
as
way.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting because obviously you have love for your father, but there are certain things that I know I find very awkward and difficult to discuss with him. And I'll be able to discuss that with the third person. And why wouldn't you want that third person to be an expert or someone that's got, a different perspective? SubhanAllah, I'll never forget. Yeah, I'm not even talking about this from an Islamic point of view. I remember when I hit my car, yeah, I crashed my car. It wasn't even a big crash. I literally tapped the back of this person, yeah. And he started moaning and complaining. And I didn't go to my family. Who did I go to? I went to my neighbor, an 86-year-old woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I told her because I had a relationship with her. Where I didn't feel like I was going to be judged. I felt like I was going to be heard,
Yeah.
and I didn't know who to go to. And she sat me down. She heard me, and she's like, you know what? You need to tell your parents. Yeah, you do need to tell them. You can't keep it from them, and this is how you should deal with it. So I got that external advice from an 86-year-old woman. It doesn't matter about the age; it's the relationship you have with that person. And then obviously, not my parents didn't react in a bad way. By the way, they weren't upset, but that fear of what's going to happen, what's not. Dealing with that person.
Yeah.
And that's what you want for your children. You want them to have someone where they're not fearful of you and they're able to discuss these types of things with someone that they trust and, have a relationship with. And like you said, you would get the experts because you can't be jack of all trades. Let's be real. You might be someone who's good at reciting Quran, but your Arabic needs improvement. So how do you could argue, well, I'm going to study so I could be, more, well versed in that field so I can teach my child. But then get that Arabic teacher where you can have that banter with that teacher and build that relationship with that teacher. And then like you said, be involved still, help with the homework, ask them what they learned, test them on what they learned. You're still involved, but not directly involved. Not directly involved. And obviously you can apply this in every single aspect. And even our brother, I won't mention his name just in case he doesn't want to be mentioned, but he studied martial arts. And I always remember how he said that discipline, that level of discipline that he learned from his sensei is Sifu. Yeah, it can carry itself into all aspects of life.
Yeah, subhanallah. You
You know,
can
and
see
this is
that
what I
now
kind of,
with that brother.
yeah, you
Like
can see it with that
everything is
individual as well. It's
disciplined.
discipline. The discipline is like mi'ah fil mi'ah, 100%. Yeah, and that's something that I identified that I lacked.
Yeah.
Anytime that I had difficulty in my life, I just come crying, Baba, Mama, please, I don't want to go swimming no more. I'm tired. I don't like it. And my mom and dad be like, okay, do you want? You should try. No, no, I'm done. Finished. All right, we'll take you out. You know what I mean? And that's something that I regret. I wish, actually, we shouldn't say we wish and regret. Alhamdulillah is the qadr of Allah. But I
Yeah.
think sometimes, if I had that discipline and that level of dedication, maybe I would have been more disciplined, like we've mentioned, and I would have been, maybe I would have got my survive and save qualification, which is the official life guarding qualification you can get to
Yeah.
be a lifeguard.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. Like, you need someone to kind of put you in place, and this is also another aspect of your wife. They
Yeah.
say behind every great man is a great woman, because naturally
True.
sometimes you can't be bothered, and then sometimes your wife needs to put you in place and be like, focus, do this, do
Yeah.
that. You
Yeah.
need to do this. You need to put someone in place. So this is another discussion altogether. But yeah, like we discussed, using your resources. At the end of the day, when we're buried 6 feet under, none of this is gonna matter. We're not gonna be buried with all our good deeds and what we have, and we know that the things that continue on for us after we pass away is a righteous son or daughter that makes dua for you or does something on your behalf. So why wouldn't you want that for yourself? Why wouldn't you want to do train generations after you to be that driving force for your akhirah as well? So yeah, it's a very, very interesting discussion.
Well, let me hand it over to you. I've been asking all the questions, yeah.
Go
So
ahead.
your scenario, yeah. How do you want to get there? So we've covered how you're gonna get to Qatar. We've covered how you're
Okay.
gonna maybe progress in your
Inshallah.
career, how you might handle your children. Any other questions when you look at your life? 10 years. I'm 35. I'm doing all of that stuff. What questions come into mind in terms of how you're gonna get there?
Well, hopefully COVID isn't a problem. Yeah, and if we take this vaccine or not, and whether we're allowed to travel or not, is a different discussion altogether. But it's one of those things where you have to really consider all aspects of it, isn't it? Because what I find is that people might travel and not consider everything. Like even when, for example, I moved house or moved residency, yeah. Alhamdulillah, I moved residency, but did I think about every aspect of that, conclusively? I don't think I did. I don't think I thought about how close I was to the masjid. I didn't think about whether I was going to have a car or not to kind of drive to the masjid. I didn't think about my finances to the point where I'm looking at what I have to save in order to kind of fund those types of things if I wish to do it. So I think that's a very important thing to consider when you actually leave every aspect of it. And I'm sure, obviously, with a big life decision like that, you would do that. But I kind of, before kind of discussing it further with myself, I kind of want to ask you, you've asked me where I'm going to be at 35 years old, and I've kind of known you since 15. So it's almost been a decade. Yeah, been more than a decade since we've known each other. So inshallah, we have another decade together, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala.
Inshallah.
But where are you at 35? And what are you doing?
This guy flipped on me, man. This was meant to be
Had
about
to.
you, man. Okay. So, me at 35, yeah, I see myself.
So Isa is 12.
He's 12, and Sarah it would be 10 or 11, something like that.
MashaAllah.
Yeah, probably 10, yeah. And yeah, so I would have imagined in those years, okay, they would have been very closely connected with the Quran. If they haven't memorized it by now, they would have been very close to finishing memorizing it, inshallah. In terms of their Arabic, there would have been some fluency there. Your screen's gone yellow, by the way.
Yeah, sorry, I can see some technical difficulties
No
there.
problem. I'm gonna carry on. You try and fix that, yeah.
No, I'm back.
Khair. So, I would have the Arabic fluency would be pretty good. I mean, if not perfect, I would imagine that they would have a good grasp on, at least if they read Arabic, they would be able to understand it, even if their speaking wasn't too great. Yeah. But I would really want my kids to speak Arabic well, because I read, but I understand Arabic better when I read it rather than I can't really formulate a speech from it. I can't really have a conversation with other people. And that's something I want to work on, but I don't think I'm going to reach that fluency that my children could reach, because if they're doing it from a young age, then I'd want them to, what I want, is that I want them to think in Arabic. Yeah, because right now my thoughts are all in English, and then I have to convert them into Arabic. But I'd want them to think in Arabic. That's where I want it to be at, basically.
Sahih.
So hopefully in those formative years they could do that. And for me to I mean, the key question is how do you get there? And for me, it's like you said, it's about starting now. Yeah, me doing Arabic right now. How can I expect my children to have some fluency if I don't try and be fluent right now? So me as a father, I'm not only doing Arabic because it's an obligation religiously, or because I want to connect with the Quran, because I want to read the works of the scholars. That is the high goals, but it's not just that. There's also goals underneath that, which is, as a dad, I want to pass that skill over to my children. As a dad, I want to be role model for my children, and I know that my children need Arabic for their Islamic development, for their tarbiyah. Arabic is core to that, and 100%. I didn't have that as core growing up, and as we've already mentioned, there's reasons for that. So it's not like I'm regretful of it, but if I did have it, there would have been a lot more, you could say maybe, weight to my attachment with the Quran than it is now. And it's only really developing now at 25, when it should have been, much more developed earlier than that. And then it's a lifelong journey, but it should have started much earlier than that. So that's that aspect. In terms of like career wise and stuff, I'd want to be working for myself, to be honest. I never
both
really
have a similar goal there.
Yeah. I never really had that ambition before. I always just thought that I'll work my way through a job and I'll make good money from a job. But recently, when switching between one job to the other, I realized that really you want to make income for yourself, man. You wanna control your income. Obviously, Allah is the one that provides. I think we mentioned this last time, we probably had a bit of this discussion last time, but I would really want to, in 10 years time, I'd want to really be working for myself and have money coming in that I'm focusing on. But at the same time, I've in those 10 years, I've built it up to a point where I've been able to maybe employ other people. So I'm not actually involved in the process of the business. I'm just raking in the money, really. And maybe I'm involved here and there, but not many hours. Like that book, 4 Hour Work. I think we're just shouting out bare books this episode,
Honestly,
the 4 Hour Work Week, It's it's a very good book. And when I first read the title, I thought that's just kind of clickbait, But there is a, you can achieve close to that, even if it's not 4 hours, even if it's 10 hours a week or something or whatnot. You can achieve closer to that, and in those 10 years, I'd want to be close to that kind of 4 hour time and the reason for that is, I think a lot of maybe other people, they think I want to do that so that I can travel the world and whatnot. I don't like traveling the world is nice to me, but this year with COVID lockdown has really taught me that being there with my children, spending time with them, is more important to me than having all of these experiences. And so I'd want to spend those, be at that age at 35, being able to spend more and more hours with my children. And I would have hoped that in those 10 years, I was homeschooling them. Like for me, the next sort of 2-3 years is about building my finances to a point where I have enough money to be able to homeschool my children. Because homeschooling is
not cheap.
It's not cheap. It's not cheap, especially as they get older. Maybe in the early years, it's okay, but as they get older, you're hiring tutors, this, that, whatnot, the resources, taking them on trips, whatnot. This becomes expensive. Where all the things you can imagine that your school would have done for you, education-wise, you're gonna have to spend that money on that. But I mean, homeschooling is another topic, and I'm not gonna go into why I'd want to do that today. But I'd want to make sure that in the next kind of couple of years, the key focus is building some finances to make sure that I can then spend time with my children. I can homeschool them. I have the opportunity to do that. I have the resources, the time to do that. And then by the time they are that age, they're 10, 11, 12 years old, that I've been so involved in their life in those years that they felt like they did have a father in their life and their father had an impact on them, and that I've been able to give them all these opportunities. And at that stage is when things are just going to get even better. I mean, they're going to become teenagers, they're going to become rowdy, they're going to need tarbiyah. And hopefully at that stage, I have enough finances, I have enough security. Me and my wife are comfortable enough to give them that time and that guidance and those opportunities in those teen years to be able to do that. And so, yeah, for me to get to that stage, as I mentioned, is I need to start looking at it now. How am I going to build that business, that empire? How am I going to get to that stage of working less hours and doing the homeschooling? Even when it comes to the homeschooling aspect, I'm already preparing. I have like on my laptop, I had this folder that's full of resources, and these are resources that probably won't be used until they're like 4 or 5 years old. But I'm banking everything now, getting myself in the mindset, preparing myself to do the homeschooling. I'm part of homeschooling groups, so I can research how to do it. So yeah, bro. Key thing is, and why I wanted to give you this scenario, yeah, is so we can both have this vision for ourselves. That if that's how I imagine myself at 35, and that's what I imagine my kids doing at that age, and that's how I imagine how much money I have and where I'm living, then how do we start getting there from now? Like, what do we need to do from now to get there? But yeah, that's me, I guess.
MashaAllah. Nah, that's interesting, no doubt. Definitely. Yeah, I think we're both on the same page in terms of like having that independence in terms of finance. I think that I've always been that way. Sorry, excuse me. Definitely before my apprenticeship, I didn't really have any career focus. I mean, I was a teacher, but it wasn't like full time, and because obviously the lack of the degree, the wage wasn't really there. So not having that focus, and I think, that I always think back to something that brother told me while I was abroad, which was having the bow and the arrow are essential, but without a target they're useless, right? So having that goal, having that target, thinking about, okay, I've set my career now, this is how I want to do it, this is what I want to do. And you might you have your bow and arrow, you'll miss the target sometimes, you won't get the target, but at least you're close to it, at least you have that vision, you have that aim, and you have a focus. And I think that's something that a lot of people, and especially our youth these days, they lack. They don't have that mentorship. They don't have that clear guidance in regards to helping them aspire to achieve these things. But yeah, mashallah.
I think having children really gave me that focus to be able to do that.
100%. And I think I said that last week as well. Yeah. Like your mentality shifted, whether you noticed it or not. Like it had to, but it definitely did. Like you went from gear 1 to gear 5. Yeah. MashaAllah.
Because you have to, what you do is it forces you to think about what you're doing now in the long term. Like for example, right now, I invested a lot of money into a fitness program. And I would have never imagined myself a couple of years ago, 3-4 years ago, spending that much money on a fitness program. I wasn't those kind of people to just like splash money on these kind of things. Yeah, I was very careful about it. But having children and realizing that at that 35 age, I'd want to be fit enough to be running around with my children. Like Tariq said on the podcast like 2 weeks ago, he said you wanna always be faster than your children. Yeah. So I realized that right now I have the opportunity to build that foundation. I can't wait till I'm 35 thinking in my head, I'm going to be fit and I'm going to look nice and my kids are going to be reciting Quran very nicely and I'm going to be living here, thinking about it and thinking when I get there, I'm going to get there. No, okay, you've got the vision, but you have to start now. So I invested that hundreds of pounds into that fitness program. So not so I could look amazing, but so that I could instill the habits inside of me now, the correct habits that I need for the rest of my life, the habits that I have, my attitude towards food, my attitude towards working out, the discipline to understand your body and the needs it has, how your body reacts to certain types of foods, and different situations, so that I know I have this foundation now at 25 years old, and I'll build on that foundation. When I'm 35, I'm good. I can do what I need to do with my children. I don't have to be held back because of my health. So same thing. I mean,
Yeah,
that's just an
yeah.
example, but apply that to everything. Like your Quran right now,
Mm-hmm.
invest in it now, so that at that age you can show them that we're connected to Quran. Not thinking I'm gonna be connected by the time I'm 35. Oh, let me just do what I'm doing now, and by the time I'm that age, I'll be connected with it. No, you do it from now, so that at that age, your children can see that you're connected with it. You can apply this across different things. So you were saying something. I
MashaAllah.
kind of cut you off.
No. Jazakallah khair. Now, it's interesting when we're having these discussions, what kind of memories and thoughts pop into my head, and just kind of going off what you just mentioned there. Subhanallah, there was a student I remember, because sometimes I would have to do the khutbah at the school that I worked at,
Yeah,
and I'd have to take some of the. Sometimes it would be at the girls' school, so I'd have to take a few students, obviously, to make the bare minimum amount of men to be present. If you follow one
yeah,
particular. Um, you know, Understanding when it comes to this. So I'd have to take them over, and obviously I'd give the khutbah. And subhanallah, when we would walk to that building, because it was like, a few minutes distance away, we would just have general discussion, and they would talk to me about, life in Egypt and studying and etc. But this particular group of year 11 students, they had a couple of hufaz, and the other year groups, they didn't have that. And just looking at the way that their parents instilled that love and instilled that passion and instilled that and showed them the realities of the importance of the Quran. SubhanAllah, one child in particular was discussing about how their father, when praying Qiyamul Layl, would be in ruku or sujood for so long that he thought that his father passed away.
wow.
So he would be like, yeah, sometimes I'll be there, and he'd be in sujood. I thought he passed away, and they were laughing. And I thought, what was I discussing in year 11? I wasn't
Subhanallah.
discussing how my father was in sujood for so long that I thought he passed away. I was discussing all sorts of rubbish. How do I do a shoryuken in, Street Fighter, whatever it was, yeah? Because obviously what I was exposed to is relative to what you're exposed to.
Of
Now,
course.
that's his foundation. His foundation is that the Quran is so important and what does that suggest? What does that already say? His father's getting him up for Qiyam al-Layl. He's praying lengthy prayers, not short prayers. He's reciting parts of the Quran that, would make the toilet would make it long. It would make it, something
Yeah.
that would be difficult. You talk about how his legs would hurt, etc.
Mm.
Like subhanallah, it's like it's putting that measurement very high from the get-go. Whereas
Mm.
our measurement is just to recite Quran. His measurement is I want to be reciting Surah Baqarah and Surah An-Nisa in Qiyamul Layl. Do you
Subhanallah.
understand that dynamic is so important to kind of, and the thing is, the question is that we understand this and we want this for our children. What are we doing for ourselves?
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? Like, what are we doing for
It's
ourselves at
true.
this very moment? And obviously it's difficult. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it easy for us all.
I mean,
But yeah, it just reminded me of that scenario when you kind of discussed that just now. SubhanAllah. So may Allah bless those brothers, inshallah. And
I mean,
allow us to kind of be that kind of role model for our own children,
definitely.
to the point where they're looking at us and they're aspiring to be like us. Obviously to be like the past predecessors and the people of knowledge that we're exposed to at this moment. But be someone where I would like to be like my father. I want to be like my father. My father's a
Mm.
righteous man, and we can say this about a particular uncle. May Allah have mercy upon him that
I
passed
mean,
away not so long ago. He was a very a really inspiring individual. Someone people only speak lofty words of this person. And we try to aspire to be like that as fathers, to be role models for our children first and
mm.
foremost, and then obviously help society on a general.
Of
But
course.
yeah, man, it's
So
an
look,
interesting one.
to round it off here, back to our scenario of you and your
In
vision for
Qatar,
for your in Qatar with your children, mashallah. We
inshallah,
talked about the
inshallah.
good things, but what challenges would you imagine that you would have
Mm,
as a father with your children in that scenario? Your boy's 10, your daughter's 4, you're living abroad, you're working a good job,
mm,
but it sounds great, but what challenges do you think you
mm.
would be going through at the moment, and how do you think we can address them?
Great question. I think that obviously being at work and having that outlet for myself will be great. But I have to also think, now I'm part of a unit. I'm part of, I'm married, and I've got to consider my wife as well. So I think that might be something that may be difficult. I feel like having a wife that is just a home wife is already difficult to some extent.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a responsibility that mothers are able to carry out in a different type of way. However, to be in another country and to have that responsibility is quite difficult. It kind of reminds me of someone that my auntie's, daughter. You could argue, who got married to a Swedish Reba, alhamdulillah. And when she got pregnant and she had a child, I don't know if it's in Sweden or another European country, so don't quote me on this. But whatever country they're in, like, it's uncommon for them to kind of have help from the mother-in-law. Like, they kind of it's that you deal with it, it's your responsibility. And I think that's another aspect as well that people might not consider to some extent, not having that exposure to the grandparents and things like that. Obviously, solution that is alhamdulillah, technology is advanced to a point where we can just speak to people across the globe in the blink of an eye, really. But yeah, I think that's a major aspect of it as well. And like having just that relationship with family, I think the relationship you have with your cousins, that are similar age to you, are a lot stronger than sometimes your friends. Alhamdulillah, I was blessed to have really cousins that were similar to my age, that went through similar experiences to me, that I consider to be closer than some of my friends.
Yeah.
And I think that's important as well. Like, having a cousin or having a family member that you can relate to and discuss like certain things with and grow up with is also important. So obviously, going to Qatar, you'll be taking that away from your children. But like we said, there's an opportunity cost, isn't there? And this life is short, so we have to consider what's probably the best for our children long term, rather than these things that we might be a problem in the future as well. You might have
Yeah.
a nephew that's a tyrant. It might be an individual you don't want your children to be hanging around with. So I guess it's one of those things that is subjective. But yeah, another aspect probably might be your own friendship circle as well.
True.
Being at work, you want to be able to have your outlets as well, and being exposed to a different country with different people, building those foundations and relationships with people again can be difficult,
Yeah.
especially if you're like, an introverted person like myself. I consider myself to be introverted anyway. I'm only extroverted with people that I know, but the initial interactions, I'm quite reserved, I'd like to
Yeah.
think
Yeah. Yeah.
anyway. So it's like, building all that, and so that it's
It's true.
balancing all of that.
And I would
Ideally, I'd like to
imagine
be in the UK.
that would help that would hinder somewhat your relationship with your family at home, because
Yeah.
if you're not as you're not that happy at work, yeah, or you don't have that connection with your colleagues, so at work is just becomes a bit of a chore, then coming
Mm.
home, it can then hinder your family life
The
a bit,
relationship,
where you
exactly.
have a bad mood and whatnot. And also,
Yeah,
like you
yeah.
mentioned about friends, I find it such a blessing to live here where I am and have friends around me that have kids the same age as me, or even just having
Mm-hmm.
family around me that can help me when I've got a long day at work. Yeah, like there's sometimes when I have to work hours and hours at work, and my mom is more than happy to be like, yeah, I can take Isa off your hands,
Mm-hmm.
and that
MashaAllah.
means that my wife only has to deal with Sarah, and I can get on with my work and whatnot. And even when it comes to like friends and stuff, before I was living in Essex, and it was hard to
Mm-hmm.
meet up. And Issa didn't have no kids of his age to play with. As soon as I
Mm-hmm.
moved here, it's very easy to meet up with friends that we have that do have children, to
MashaAllah. Have
to
a
to
play day or
to
whatever,
to
yeah.
have a play day. and
Mm.
and that means that even if I know that work is stressing me out, my wife then knows that if she wants to, maybe if I won't have time to play with the kids, maybe she can ask family or ask friends if they want to go out to the park or whatnot. And at least my
MashaAllah.
kids still have the opportunity to do that. But if I was somewhere else and I was working maybe a more stressful job and I didn't have family around, didn't have friends around, then I would imagine that although with all these positives we talked about, this challenge would be there.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, like you said, it's weighing up the pros and cons, looking at opportunity costs, and seeing what's probably best for your child. So I mean, looking at the example of Obaid, I'm not sure what age he kind of went to Egypt, but you know, I'd say around like 10 maybe. Have your formative years here, get exposed to your family here, get a couple of years abroad. Who knows, akhi, who knows? Inshallah,
Yeah.
we ask Allah to make it easy for us and allow us to make our children, the coolness of our eyes and ambassadors
Ameen.
for the religion and society on a whole, inshallah. Ameen.
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 Rather than inshallah. Ameen. Ya Rab.
I mean, on that point, bro, I think we'll end it there. Jazakallah khair for coming on,
Inshallah.
man, and
Barakallahu
covering those
feek.
scenarios. Inshallah, we will look forward to having you back again.
Inshallah.
Maybe not as
Inshallah. More
Master
than
Chief
happy
this
to.
time, maybe as somebody else.
Oh wait, let's see if I can
Who
quickly
else do
pull
you
up
have on
another.
your?
MashaAllah. On my
What is it?
let's see.
Some virtual machine that you got going.
Yeah, so what happens at work sometimes, we kind of like try to spice things up and enter meetings like as different characters. So I think there's another cool one here. Let's see.
As jokes.
Uh, this one's a cool one. This one I like to comment sometimes. Let's see if it works. It kind of slows the computer down. It's quite a big program, but yeah, just a bit of light-hearted fun, and it kind of gets the
I think
conversation going.
my camera's frozen. Let's
Oop. So
give
you've gone and
myself
I've
back.
become Batman.
Oh, we got Batman in the house.
Where is she? Rachel.
Look, on
That's how
that
I
note,
entered
yeah,
the meeting.
I'm not even gonna fix my video, bro. We're done now anyway. So let's end on that note. We got Batman in the house. Inshallah, next time we're gonna speak to Batman about his journey towards becoming a father, raising some little bats. MashaAllah. That looks sick, bro.
Rachel.
Alright,
Assalamu
assalamu
alaikum
alaikum.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Take care, bro.